Schlederman. Joel, it's great to see you as always. Let's talk through a few different things. And I want to first get, of course, your reaction on camera to the vice president's speech today in Munich, because I know that you tweeted about it. And you said this: Harris just made the single most significant speech by an American leader in a global forum to prevent war since the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. This is American leadership in action. Expand on that for me, Joel.
Yasmin, it's great to be with you. And without a doubt, what Vice President Harris did today was put a firm flag, plant it in the ground, and say the United States is here. We back up our European allies. We back up Ukraine. We are not going anywhere. And we're calling Vladimir Putin's bluff. Time and again, what we're seeing from the Biden administration is calling out Vladimir Putin, eliminating his false pretext for war, unifying our allies around a sanctions package that will hit Russia hard if it chooses to invade further. And so her message was very clear and very well received. And at a moment of heightened tension where we do need to have that clarity from our leaders. And thank goodness we have clarity from our White House right now.
It's interesting, though, because with that, right, on the same day, you had Vladimir Zelensky, as I was just talking about with Josh Schlederman, incredibly defiant, standing up there and saying, don't pity us, right? We can defend ourselves. You should, in fact, be helping us out because we should actually be a member of NATO. And the fact that you weren't paying attention years ago and now you're suddenly paying attention, as so many Ukrainians have said to so many of our reporters that are stationed there, that country now has been at war since 2014. These shellings that we've seen in eastern Ukraine, it's par of the course for them on so many separate days. But if you think about a big picture, right, if Ukraine were actually a part of NATO right now, that means U.S. soldiers would have to move into Ukraine and fight against Moscow, against Russian soldiers if they were to invade, which would literally start a world war.
That is true if Ukraine were part of NATO. But I think I want to get to your point about Zelensky. What he did today was he called out all of the concerns and got off his chest all of the frustrations that the Ukrainian people have. And these are legitimate points that he was making. But what he was doing as well is he was rallying opinion back at home and saying, I'm standing up for Ukraine. I'm going to speak truth to the community of nations that has to back us up. They are backing us up, but I'm going to tell them that they need to do more. And so I think for this NATO question, this NATO expansion question, this is something that clearly Russia wants to get at and wants to talk about. And Secretary Blinken, in his exchange of letters with the Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov, this is not a starting point that the United States is going to consider. We don't control what countries do and do not decide to do when it comes to voluntarily joining military alliances like NATO. But there has to be a dialogue over these security questions. There's a lot on the table. And so I think Zelensky going in there was very powerful. He put his foot down, but it also does give some space now for diplomacy through other channels.
So here's the other thing that I've been thinking a lot about, Joel, and just, entertain me on this for one moment. And it's this, right? This idea that there's other countries watching this situation play out. And when I say other countries, I'm talking specifically about China and Taiwan, right?
Yeah.
Seeing that if, in fact, Moscow, Russia were to invade Ukraine and there were no real circumstances, and what I mean by real circumstances aside from the sanctions, we know that the sanctions would be leveled against them. But does Putin really care about sanctions? Nobody really knows, right? There's no military action done, no military repercussions. Then you have China, right, this world power looking at this happening, thinking, well, if they can do it, so can I. And other countries doing the same, right? What is that? Where does that leave us?
Yeah, you're putting your finger right on the hottest button question right now in Washington, which is what signal is this sending? And what the Biden team is doing is sending a signal that the world is unified against the idea that a country can unilaterally invade a neighboring country and take it over and tell it what to do. And looking over the horizon at the question of Taiwan is certainly part of this calculus. And so this firm line, it doesn't mean that it's always going to work out, right? Like this is, to your point, sanctions is a package. This is a real-time test to see how powerful an impact that can be. And can this alliance coming together in this way really rebuff Vladimir Putin from doing this horrific mistake that he may do? But this is a test for all of us and for the United States and for our partners. And it's going to continue to be a test regarding China down the road. And so this is the way that international relations right now is being organized by the Biden team. They're looking at China, they're looking at Russia, and they're saying, we as democracies, we don't accept that kind of sphere of influence, aggression against neighbors. And they're drawing the line right now.
Joel Rubin, with what appears to be a picture of you and Secretary Kerry over your right shoulder shaking hands in front of the American flag. Am I correct?
I wonder. It was
I'm squinting
an honor
to
to serve there. Yes. Yes, indeed. And
okay.
over a little bit over from a signed note of Superior Honor Award from Liz Cheney when I was a civil servant in the Bush administration. So got it all on my wall.
There you go. There you go. Joel Rubin, thank you.
Thanks, Yasmin.
Still ahead, everybody, ousting one of their own. Republicans are lining up to endorse a primary challenger of GOP Congresswoman Liz Cheney, as Joel Rubin was just talking about. What the